This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Welcome in, Paul Catalina and Pierre Noujaim. Pierre, did you get to go to the Timberwolves game in LA this week?
No, unfortunately not. My hope was that we would be there. That unfortunately did not happen. So I'm going to have to wait till game 3 to get a front row seat to this series.
Okay. Because I'll just tell you starting out, we don't watch in my house a lot of regular season NBA. Occasionally It's on, we'll put it on. But because the glory days of everybody plays every game are far behind us, quite often when I turn on a game in the regular season, I'm like, oh, hey, this could be a good one. And it's be like, no, you're going to see both teams have it's like they collude together and be like, hey, look, if we don't play our guys, will you not play your guys tonight? We're both on back-to-back nights. And, come on. Oh, good plan. Good deal. Yeah. I mean, we'll fight it out with our guys. But, if the ones that people pay to see why we're on television with this gigantic contract and why people bought these tickets, if they'll just, give a couple camera shots of them sitting in a suit on the sidelines, that'll be fine. That's all they care about. They just want to see their face. They don't want to watch them shoot a basketball. So that's what bothers me about the regular season is that there's, it's just wonky, right?
That's why I feel blessed to cover a guy like Anthony Edwards, who has an absolute desire to play every single game. And that's something that, you can't really say about every single superstar in the NBA. But Anthony Edwards is a joy to cover. And I will say for the record, I did feel like load management was down this year. I didn't notice it as much this year as in years prior. But when you're talking about a guy like Kawhi Leonard, who needs that load management because his knee seems to be absolutely falling apart, can only play 40 games this season. I get it from that standpoint, but yeah, you're right. It's not the way it used to be, where guys strived to play 82 games a year. That league doesn't exist anymore in my mind.
Yeah, no, when I was a kid watching like any game, like, and look, WGN had the Bulls and they were on every cable company in the world. So I watched, probably 50 Bulls games a year.
Yeah.
And I watched 40 Knicks games a year, and I watched the Magic every night, like all of that when I was growing up in Florida. So, it was better. It was good. And so I don't turn it on until the playoffs, because the playoffs are exciting. They're genuinely great. We have, they're really fun to watch. And is this going on just on my screen where I'm losing Pierre and me for every couple of seconds?
I mean, you should be up there.
Okay. No, I mean, like, it's like rebooting on the screen. So anyway, Andrew, check that out. Sorry. Anyway, I'm just worried about what's going on my monitor.
I see you just fine for the record.
Okay. Good. Because I was losing us both for a sec. But it's better. And so actually, I believe the first one we got to turn on Saturday was that Lakers and Timberwolves game, which, dear God, that's the first time I've ever seen LeBron look old. It really was. And he's 40 and he's still playing, near the top of his game, but the Timberwolves were just everywhere. They were just everywhere all the time. And I know they're not going to make that many threes again and, the percentages, but they certainly, even though they're the 6th seed compared to the 3, look like they are they're just swarming all around, is where the Lakers look discombobulated.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And this year, more than any other year, I think of seasons past, if you look at the NBA playoff bracket, especially in the West, seeds don't really matter all that much, with the exception of Oklahoma City. There was 1 or 2 games separating 3rd from 8th by the end of the season. Maybe it was 3. This thing was just a dog race from the All-Star break all the way to the end of the regular season. So I would tell people not to pay so much to seeding in the Western Conference. And I know this is an instance where I know I didn't go on air publicly saying it, but you talk to anybody that I spoke with, and I said the Timberwolves are going to win this series in 6 games. Everybody wants to just look at the paper. They see LeBron, they see Luka, they see the Lakers. They automatically think that entitles them to a first-round exit no matter the opponent. But I'm thinking to myself, clearly you guys have not watched the Timberwolves the last 25 games of the season, because they have been absolutely sensational and are on a great run, seem to have found their footing, albeit later than I'm sure they would have liked to. But I still believe that the Timberwolves are going to win this series. I really do.
Yeah, and look, you are lucky to cover Anthony Edwards. He is so much fun to watch. He is and again, like, he's one of those guys that, like, there are any era guys. There's certain guys that wouldn't have like they fit today's game more than because of body style or like their skill set. They fit today's game. LeBron's an any era guy, right? Like, he's going to work in any era. Anthony Edwards is an any era guy. Like, any point during the NBA's history, Anthony Edwards can adapt and play that style of basketball, which is why he's one of my favorite players to watch. I just love him. Plus, he has more fun out there. Like, I don't know, like, he takes it seriously and still knows it's fun. It's weird. Like, he's got the good balance of, man, I'm having a blast playing basketball. This is awesome. But he's not like, I don't know. He's not Ja Morant. That's what I'm saying. Like, he understands he's got a good balance.
He has always had, ever since he stepped into the league, he has had like this youthful innocence about him that has not really left him, even though this is his 5th year in the league. But I've never seen a guy more comfortable in his own skin than Anthony Edwards. And that's a huge compliment to him, right? In all honesty, that you can't really say that too much about people, but
there's nobody more sensitive to anything than NBA players.
Yeah, for the most part, yes. I mean, they have traditionally been the athletes who tend to be a little bit more sensitive than others that I've covered in my experience. But he, for better or worse, Anthony Edwards is himself, and you're always going to get that version of him night in and night out, whether it's on the basketball court or off the basketball court. And anybody who hasn't watched Anthony Edwards play, I think you like what you see. I think he's the type of talent that draws in the casual viewer. I think he's that good.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Pierre, it was Easter weekend.
Happy belated birthday, by the way, my friend.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Well, it was great. I got to tell you, it was I'm 45 now. I'm 45, which I'm halfway to 50, like in this decade. I know I'm more than halfway to 50. I was halfway to 50 20 years ago, but I'm halfway to 50 inside the 40s, right? And so it's like each second that passes, like I am further away from 40 than I am from 50. Like once that happened on Saturday, like there was a time where it was even, and then the first second that passed, it was over, right?
Right.
So I really got to capitalize on these next 5 years before, like, because I would like to be like before I start, because I know that people don't believe this because I'm 45, but there's no dye here. Like I have very few gray hairs. Occasionally I'll get one in the beard. I don't have much salt and pepper up here in the hair. I have I saw a bunch of friends from high school back in November. We went to Muscle Shoals, Alabama, and it was great. And they were all like, "How in the world do you not have gray hair?" I said, "I don't know. Like I've got every other problem." But like that, that's like the one thing God was like, you know what? We're going to make him struggle with his weight. He's going to be like up and down and up and down and up and down. And he's going to be like athletic enough to compete, but not good enough. And, but at least, he's not going to be like a starter all the time, but he'll have gumption and he'll know about sports. But he really ultimately, when high school's over, so is his athletic career. But you know what? No gray hairs. So you're welcome.
I think at the age of 45 too, it's a lot harder, or maybe it isn't. I don't know. Maybe you can answer this for me, but I would, if it was me, it would be very hard not to focus on what I don't have anymore at 45 than what I maybe still do have at 45. So
I'll tell you, I don't care anymore about, like, I just wanted, like, and there are some, I forgot to tell you this, but there are some new things coming with this podcast, including a name change and some, production things. And we're going to shut it down for the summer and retool until we move to the new studio. Okay. So you'll have some time to, to build up for your next appearance, but we are retooling. And so I used to think of things, especially because I came up in the comedy world, which is ultra competitive. And not competitive in a way of like, you're like, there's any kind of rankings or anything like that. Like, it's just, and that world is way better now too, because there's much more, this is the avenue of all that stuff. So like, I think we're living, at least for what we do, in a golden age of being able to do kind of more what you want and finding your audience a little bit better. So I'm just grateful that I can do that now, as opposed to kind of having to do somebody else's show and like put little like sprinkles of my personality on it. Like, what's the Salt Bay, like that's what I have to do. Like before I'll tell you, when I first started, I did a show called Hall of Fame Sports Talk with Steve Fallon, who's one of my first mentors. And he taught me a lot of things. You probably met Steve when you were here. He ran the Texas Sports Hall of Fame at the time.
Yeah.
So Steve gave me, I couldn't have asked for a better, like, first person to do a show with, because he really took an interest in me getting better. And then when he left the show, I was able to do, like, I thought, okay, well, now it's my show, because, I've got a co-host who is Vince Erickson, who's still a great friend of mine, who was at Channel 25 at the time as a sports anchor. Jerry Hill did Fridays with me. I love, Jerry and I hug every time we see each other, like one of my great friends in the business. But at first I was going to try to do the show completely opposite of how Tom and Butch were doing their show in the afternoon. And I was told very much by management that no, you're going to do our show our way, and you can have ideas and you can do things that you think are fun, but this is not Paul's show. This is KRZI's show. And it was hard in the first part of that. And then Smokey came along and and this was great because the shows worked out well. I mean, we're still working together all this time, but it was never like, go do Paul's thing. Right. And so now I can do all of it. I can do my thing with Smokey and Craig, which we all love. Some days more than others, but we still love it, and now you can just do things. So I'm not chasing anybody now. Like when I see somebody succeed, I'm just like, oh, that's cool. How do they do it? I can either like it or not like it. Like can not be my thing. But I remember thinking when I was a young comedian, like, oh, that guy's not funny. I saw him, or I'm funnier than this guy or whatever. And you're like, you know what? Like, here's the goal. You get up on stage with that microphone and you tell jokes and people laugh. And if more people laugh than don't, then you win. Okay. And then you move on. And so as long as you do it the right way and don't stab people in the back on your way up the top, it's just like anything else. Do good work and good things will happen. And that it takes you a while in life to get to that point. But I'll tell you at 45, I'm more in the, I could give a shit less about all right, there are college football shows that I think our show is as good as, if not better at times out there, that we do things maybe a little bit different or better. But we don't have, to this point, the distribution or we hadn't had the backing with the new company. I think we're getting it for sure, all the things that are happening. But I don't look at them and be like, if they weren't on CBS, they wouldn't be any good. No, they're on CBS because they're good. They're good. And then a company said, we would like to back you. That's how success works. So instead of being mad about it, just, go in. Now, look, do I wish that things at ESPN were different and that it wasn't the sports shouting world? Yeah, I wish it wasn't. I miss the old days, but sitting there going why do they keep paying Stephen A. Smith? He makes the money. It's not hard to figure out why they're doing it. Is it what we like? No, but we're clearly not the portion of the populace that they care about. We're subscribed to ESPN anyway, right? Yeah. We got to watch games. So yeah, I mean, I have, as you get older, Pierre, this, you're in your 40s now. I just don't I don't have the energy for pettiness. It's just all right, well,
Yeah, and all of us who have been in the business before, we've certainly have hit that point at one point or another in our careers at the beginning where we're we think we're better than this person or that person, or how did this person or that person get that opportunity? That's always happened. That's happened throughout the history of time. It's not just limited to the broadcast industry too. It's at any point of anybody's career, I'm sure. But yeah, there does reach a point where you're like, oh, okay, well, that person got that job. Good for them, I guess. But them getting a job that you feel you're more qualified for doesn't help you get there any faster. It's something that you just have to accept and move on. And that's something that all of us in the business have encountered at some point or another. No doubt about it.
Oh yeah. And look, I've watched people come through here and I some of the most talented people have gotten the best jobs. And then sometimes there are people who, when they were here, I felt they were awful and they still wind up they're better now, but they wind up getting better jobs before I thought they were ready. But it wasn't A, me hiring them, and B, they hustled. They hustled and got that job. And yeah, were they good at it? There was two people who came through here in particular. I would be like, oh, really? If they were looking for somebody from Waco, I know four of their guys that are better at the news. I'm just saying, not that these guys won't be good one day, but they're not good now, but it's just how it is. In my role as an amateur news consultant, I felt
yes.
I think here's what I would like to do. I would like to go in, just bring me when the consultants come to your station, the real ones who get paid. I mean, when they bring these people in, they're not doing it for minimum wage. They're paying them a lot of money. In fact, there's probably guys in master control that want to punch them in the kidneys because they're I don't get a raise every other year because you guys have to pay these clowns to tell you how to do the news.
Yeah.
That's how it works. So
Yeah.
I would like to come in and I will take 1/4 of what they're paying them. And then I will sit and listen to their ideas, and then I'll get up without a PowerPoint presentation or anything. I won't do anything. I'm just going to wing it and be like, these are the stupid things that they've said. Like, we're not going to do the sports promo where you throw the ball around to all the guys.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? Your weatherman, he's got this little quirk. We're going to ride that until people people go, okay, Tom is the weather guy who also cooks. So we're going to have him cooking and doing the weather. That's what we're doing. We're not going to pretend like, hey, our weather guy, we really care about you and your safety. Yeah, they all do. Like, there's not a weather guy out there that's like, you know what? The people of Cleveland are assholes, and I'm not going to tell them when it's going to snow.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm, not to get too deep in the weeds about it too, but what I will say about my relationship with consultants is I try to keep my relationship with them at a very, 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 very large minimum, if I may.
Yeah.
Also, the one thing I'll say alongside of that, I find it very interesting that the stuff that consultants like to talk about have not changed for 20 to 25 years. And yet we reached the determination that we're going to take their word, the people who aren't necessarily in the business, we're going to take their word for what works and not trust our own people, or we're going to fire people who have been there for a long time and still have talent. And we're going to go with this vision. And 3 years down the line, when I could have told you that vision won't work, it doesn't work, and yet they do the whole thing all over again. It's just a fascinating process to me in television.
I feel that everything should be bespoke to the market and the station.
Yeah.
I think that's how you should do things. Like, coming in here and telling us how to do podcasts, like giving us ideas of like, hey, here's where you guys need to do, like, these things work for you in this world. Do more of these. That's something we need to hear. Like, here's what works. Here's what people are responding to, that. But here's what works in here. Like, okay, and what I'll tell you about, and you've lived all over the country too, what works in Sacramento and what works in Minneapolis and what works in Waco and works in Miami and what works in Atlanta are almost all different things.
Completely.
Like, all different things across all media markets and all that. But they come in and be like, we had really good success with this in Dover, Delaware. And you're like, who cares? Yeah. Like, good for Dover. Like, this is a different city than Dover, Delaware. Or do you guys just stay in Courtyard by Marriott so much everything looks the same? You know, like, that's
my question. That's been my question in the past, no doubt.
Yeah. A lot of them be like, hey, we went to Dover and we ate at a Chili's, and then we went to Sacramento and we ate at a Chili's. And it was a different Chili's because the door was on the other side. So it really tripped us out than the one in Dover. And then when we went to Texarkana, their Chili's was actually in Longview, so we had to drive. But man, it's like, guys, there's all these different things, and you have to. I remember when I was doing country radio, and I wasn't on country radio. I was just programming it. It was what you call the Jack format. It was 105.49 George FM, where it's just all music. And occasionally you had some voice trackers. But for the most part, it was just little slice of life things that I had to write too. I had to write like little country, like, George says, don't get any of that VTEX barbecue in your forehead. You'll beat your brains out with your tongue trying to get at it. Things like that. My dad, who was very Texas, was very helpful in this regard. I would just write down things that he said, and he would drive out and listen to the station. He'd be like, hey, I was like, yeah, sorry. You're what I have here, man. I gotta pull this. And so the company, at the time, we were owned by a company out of Utah, and they would like, well, this doesn't play in Salt Lake City. I'm like, yeah, they also don't drink beer in Salt Lake City. In Texas, we have a whole genre of country all to ourselves, like red dirt Texas country that is different. And you guys probably don't listen to it as much in Utah because those acts don't get booked, right? You're not booking Roger Kreger and Kevin Fowler and Pat Green all that much, but like here, when people go out to concerts, that's who they go see. So we should play those songs on the radio. And the guy was like, no. No, it's not. That's not what we do. No.
Yeah.
We pay a consultant. His name is Larry. He lives in Baltimore, Maryland. He's the best in the business. And, that's why we pay him $425,000 a year. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I was like, can I be Larry's assistant? Like triple my salary, and I'll just be like, you know what's doing well? This song that Billboard told us about. Like, all I'll do is read Billboard magazine, and you can pay me $100,000 a year.
Yeah,
like that's.
No, I definitely went in the wrong profession because consultants, whether their ideas work or not, it doesn't matter. They still get paid. They can just come into a room and say whatever it is they want or what you guys should be doing and shouldn't be doing. And even if you take the suggestion of what they believe you think you should be doing, and it fails miserably. And I have been in an environment exactly like that. It doesn't matter. You'll still get paid. For some reason, like it's somebody else's fault. It's not the fault of the person who actually conceived the notion of what you should be doing.
Yeah.
Can you tell you touched a nerve here with me a little bit? I
do, which is why Paul Catalina Consulting. I'll even bring Andrew. Andrew is good with technical stuff, so like I'll just have him sit there with a laptop and work something up as I say it and turn around and be like, see, I didn't even prepare for this. You guys are listen. 25% of what they're making, you just give it to me, and that's what we'll do. All over the country. I'll just pop in and be like, all right, well, you know what? Here's what I know about Pierre. Pierre's a very opinionated gentleman. He really enjoys covering hockey. He has a true expertise in that. We're gonna like shove him out to hockey as much as we can because he's got a really good expertise in it. And we're gonna make sure that like when it's hockey, it's Pierre, and when it's the Vikings, it's Pierre, or when it's the Twins, you know what? We've got another guy who just he knows the single A player in Fort Myers so well, like. He's going to take his vacation. He's going to go down there and watch them. That's what he does. He's obsessed. We're going to put that guy on the Twins. Yep. And we're going to do that. And we're not going to do that. Like, and when the news people say like, hey, I've got a news story, like, yeah, pitch it to that guy. Yeah. He'll do it. Yeah. He'll do it. And you know what you'll do? You will be our reporter on the scene at the watch party when it's out of town. That's what you can do, but you're not taking our precious 4 minutes. In fact, I'm taking a minute from you. They're going to be 5 minutes minimum, and you can sit on that, okay?
Sounds like a newsroom meeting that I've already had many a time.
Yeah, and here's what I have to do. Like, listen, the next time you come to me with a story about a lady with that saw Jesus in her grilled cheese, you shut the fuck up and get out of here.
Yeah. That sounds about right to me.
You know what you do? You can only get on the air if when you go to record that story and she shows it, you eat that shit. You say, thanks for the grilled cheese, you dunk it in some soup, and you get out of there. All right.
I would be all for it. I'd be all for it.
Yeah.
Just to see the meltdown of everybody saying he ate the Jesus grilled cheese. Unbelievable. Can you believe he ate the Jesus grilled cheese?
Yeah. That guy's going to be a reporter on the scene. When I was in Tampa, I love when you and I talk about this. And right now, since we're like going to like shut this down in a couple weeks, I don't really care what we talk about on the show.
Yeah, sure.
The other day, Garrett got me sidetracked.
Oh, he ranted for an hour, bro.
An hour-long rant about old radio stories. And it was one of the better shows I think I've ever done.
It was fun.
Probably.
Yeah. And
probably.
But yeah, I mean, it's not like those things should not like, but when I was living in Tampa, Aaron Andrews' dad was I want to say it was Bay News 9. It could have been another one, but he was the reporter that would like go and like ambush people kind of that were doing shady things.
Yeah.
So like if you were a slumlord or if like, you were like, doing like bad
business. Gotcha. Yeah.
The gotcha.
What are you doing here?
The thing is that I know a lot of people say like gotcha journalism is bad, but here's the thing: in local municipalities like that, in local markets, a lot of times none of these guys just show up. Like they've asked for comment, and they're like, all right, well if you deny me, a comment 4 or 5 times, we know where the business is. We're just going to go and wait, and then we're going to ask you and make you look bad when you could have been like, well, I'll attend to that, and all that. Because usually what happens is they go and they catch them, and then they'll release a statement after, and then they'll be like, well, the manner in which, and then you guys will be like, well, we did reach out for content 7 times before we had to get an answer on the story. But I can't remember what his first name was. I know, his name's Andrews. I'm going to say like Mike Andrews or, whatever it was. But he was the dude that would like go and get people. And it was my favorite part of the news because he was the best at it because he was so amazingly professional. And like most people liked him. Except when the guy would like turn around from his car, he'd be like, oh, damn it. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then because look, the great saying about Florida is it's a sunny place for shady people.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah. I was telling somebody this weekend about how, here in Texas, they teach Texas history. So, and now I'm sure they're, trying to
banning it.
They're trying to like take out the ugly parts, but for a long time, they're like, listen, this is how this happened. Not all of it is great, but you learn from that. Well, right. Florida never did that because if you look at their history, it's not good. It starts with the conquistadors coming and being like, oh, we're going to find a magic fountain, and then when they're like, hey, no magic fountain, but these people seem to be in the way. And they're like, yeah, just get rid of them. And then so they did that. And then for a while, there was really nothing down here, and then they were like, hey, people seem to want to move down that area. And they're like, yeah, but there's people there. And they're like, yeah, make them walk to Oklahoma. So they did that. And then they're like, okay, so we're going to buy up this land. We're going to sell it. Who's going to buy it? The mob. So then there was that. There's not really when you go back through how Florida happened, none of it's really all that triumphant. It's all pretty bad. It's all pretty bad. And then
I choose to focus on the present, not so much as
exactly.
the past.
But
it's that's the thing. It's well, we're at this point now. Whatever happened before we got to this point, it doesn't really have much to do with me. I got to be honest. So it's
yeah, I get it. It's fine, but again, the unconquered Seminole tribe, they never did lose a war, but they were made to walk to Oklahoma, a great number of them.
Yeah,
which
long walk.
Yeah, and here's the thing. That was the nicest thing that the American government ever did to Native Americans. It's well, just you can walk, we don't massacre you, but walk. Where are you walking to? Oh, it's a long way, man.
Yeah,
it is a long way. 100 years from now, people are going to have to drive it just tip to tip and hate the drive.
Yeah.
People in Tulsa are going to go to Destin for their vacation and be like, oh, yeah, it's a long way.
Well, consider your blessings. You're not walking to Oregon because I got to tell you, in 100 years from now, they're going to make this video game that's going to make you wish that thank goodness we only had to go to Oklahoma. Thank God. I got to tell you.
Yeah. Trailer Tears, I don't think would have sold as well.
No.
I really don't. I don't think it would have. I don't think it would have. Oregon Trail is where you learn. You know what? There was no. You played Oregon Trail, but we didn't have the internet really.
Yeah.
So all of these things. These diseases you would die of, I had no idea about them. Yeah. And then one day my buddy and I, we were we had to go to the library to do another project. And I said, hey, do you know what dysentery is? And he's like, no, I just know that you die of it in Oregon Trail. So we looked up all the diseases and we were like, oh man,
yeah,
that's terrible.
Yeah.
That's a horrible way to die. You read the disease and you're like, oh yeah, I would again. And so if my people died, I always wanted to be fording the river. I did not want after that. I was like, look, if we're going to go out, we're going to go out like rock stars fording this river. We're not going to crap ourselves to death with dysentery. That's not how we die.
It's funny that you mentioned that too, because now that you think about it, when you go back and think about the times you played in that game, it's I didn't really get the full dysentery experience from that game. Just suddenly someone was dead of dysentery, but I didn't get the full kind of understanding. And now that I've read it in a book, my God, this game is dark.
All right. So let me look up the diseases you would die from.
There was dysentery. There was, God, what else was there? Was scarlet fever one? No, scarlet fever, I don't think it was one.
Okay, hold on. Okay, dysentery.
Yeah.
Cholera.
Yes, cholera, yes.
Typhoid fever.
Mm-hmm.
Measles. Making a comeback, people.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not just for Oregon Trail anymore.
No, bring it back.
Sure.
Smallpox. Diphtheria. Snake bite.
Yeah, I remember the snake bite.
Yeah. And then they called it mountain fever in the game, but it's altitude sickness.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but yeah, so man,
that's a lot. That was more than I thought there would be, to be honest.
Yeah, no, there were yeah. So it's
cholera, not another one that just, not for me.
No,
not for me.
It's a highly contagious bacterial infection that can lead to severe diarrhea, dehydration, and death.
Yeah.
Dysentery is pretty much the same thing.
Right. Right.
Typhoid fever, a little bit different. So
what they say, what's old is new again, and in the unfortunate case of the measles, I'd care not to. I'd prefer to leave that in the past if we could. If
no.
At home, please, let's do our part to make sure measles stay in the past.
Yeah. So but yeah, that was. I remember looking that up. I'm like, I wonder what that is. And because you would a lot of times you would learn about diseases in history class, but they would leave that part out. And look, if you're teaching 7th graders what dysentery is, a lot of them is going to be like,
right, yeah, sure.
The one time the poor kid gets sick and craps his pants in school, you're like, oh, Toby's probably got dysentery,
Yeah.
Oh, we call him cholera Ken,
That'll follow you around. That'll follow you around for the rest of the time too.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's the one thing. When I was with my high school buddies and we were talking, a lot of us went to school from middle school on together, and we were going hey, I wonder what happened to that guy and that guy. And then you get someone, you just throw out their nickname, and you're like, well, why aren't we just calling him his regular name at this point in our 40s? Why wouldn't we just call him John? No, we've got to, we have to recreate the name, so that's where he is in our memory centers.
Like cheese in old school.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely got to keep that name 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Pierre, let's take a break. When we come back, let's talk about some actual sports. Joey Aguilar, who transferred to UCLA from Appalachian State, might pull off the first accidental trade in college football history, because he is now in the portal because Nico Iamaleava is on his way to UCLA officially now. And I'm wondering if the reason it took so long was he held out to say yes officially until they said, well, you're going to start. You're not going to have to compete against this guy who came here to also start. And he's now the best quarterback in the portal because Nico is at UCLA, and this guy left App State after 2 good years to play at a bigger school. So, he might wind up at Tennessee. We'll talk about that next. Plus, the NFL draft is this week. Pierre's thoughts on what the Vikings have to get done in the first couple of rounds. This is the Triple Option.
To be your best requires commitment, dedication, and intensity. It's what defines elite athletes and inspires Airwave to find new ways to optimize your performance. Introducing Airwave Recovery, a mouthpiece designed to work while you sleep to further unlock your potential. Airwave Recovery features our patented reflex technology, small, integrated bumps uniquely positioned to activate your tongue's natural response. Your tongue will instinctively move forward, opening your airway and improving your quality of sleep. And thanks to our patented fitting material and a purpose-designed support wall, you'll enjoy a secure, comfortable fit all night long. With Airwave Recovery, you sleep better and recharge faster. Airwave Recovery, recharge your potential.
life will test you. It will turn your world upside down. Again. And again. And again. The only way to hit back is to stand up. Stand up every time. And say, I'm not done.
Escape into fitness with the Schwinn IC4 bike, providing a premium, heart-pumping indoor cycling experience that combines digital connectivity with superior Schwinn quality. The IC4's smooth, quiet ride features magnetic resistance with 100 micro-adjustable resistance levels, an intuitive resistance knob, a beautiful backlit LCD display, adjustable race-style seat, dual-link pedals with toe cages, and a pair of 3-pound dumbbells with easy-reach cradles. Place your phone or tablet on the media rack and keep them charged with the IC4's convenient USB charging station, extra-large dipped handlebars for premium grip, and dual water bottle holders for staying hydrated. The Schwinn IC4 comes with a slim, comfortable, Bluetooth-enabled heart rate armband that continuously monitors heart rate to help you stay within your target zone. But the best part about the IC4 is premium digital connectivity. Digitally immerse yourself in a world of virtual races, exotic locales, and stunning trails from around the globe. With connectivity to cycling and coaching apps like Peloton, Explore the World, and Zwift, with the Schwinn IC4 bike, you can ride with Peloton at a fraction of the price. Don't limit yourself to one digital experience. Pedal through dozens of scenic destinations, controlling your pace by speeding up or slowing down. Fitness was never meant to be put in a box, and neither were you. Escape the everyday with the Schwinn IC4 bike, your ticket to a life well lived.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Alongside Pierre Noujaim and Pierre, so Nico Iamaleava jumped in the portal last week, and fanfare aside, he is now officially at UCLA. A move which... look, I think Tito Sinceri, who's the first-year offensive coordinator there, is going to do well, but he does not have near enough talent around him to be as successful as he was at Tennessee. And the mixed messages coming out of the Iamaleava camp make me a little worried about UCLA and what they're getting themselves into. And Joey Aguilar, who was the quarterback that came from App State, is now in the portal. Tennessee finds himself in need. Hopefully this is for them. I think hopefully this is a match because he's got some experience. He can step in and play. And normally I don't feel bad for gigantic SEC behemoths, but I do feel bad the way this went down for Tennessee. And I admire the way Josh Heupel handled it, but we could see our first kind of like unofficial trade if Joey Aguilar just goes to Tennessee.
Yeah, and wouldn't that be a story?
Yeah.
That would just be an unbelievable story if he ends up at Tennessee. But you and I talked about this on this very show last week. We mentioned some of the teams that we thought Nico could be a potential fit for. But if memory serves me right, at the end of our conversation, all roads were leading back to UCLA. It almost felt like a bad kept secret at that point in terms of where Nico might end up. And lo and behold, he is in UCLA. And the one thing I was listening to, I forget, and I wish I could remember so I can give this person credit for speaking about it on the air when I was watching one of the shows, and I don't remember on which network, but somebody pointed out the fact that, if Nico, whatever money Nico is getting, he is now going to be taxed a lot more heavily going to UCLA because those California taxes spare absolutely no one. And I'm a victim of that. I would know all about that growing up there the majority of my lives. And that, honestly, Paul, that thought that came in my head was, I didn't really even take it into consideration that that's another wrinkle to NIL that somebody would have to think of instead of going to a prestigious school like USC, for example. Would you go there knowing that? Because let's be honest, if you're making in between $2 and $4 million in Southern California, $2 to $4 million, while it sounds like a lot of money to us, doesn't go necessarily all that far. And if you're a college kid getting taxed on $2.5 million in California, as opposed to maybe going to Florida or Texas or somewhere else in the South in particular, suddenly I'm like, well, I don't really care what kind of tradition you have over at USC. I want to keep my money. I didn't really think about that whole process myself when this thing started.
Look, Stuart Mandel tweeted out like what you'd have to make to maintain your lifestyle, and he has to make more. Well, he's not going to make more at UCLA. He's going to make less.
Yeah.
Before taxes, like he's going to make less because they don't have that kind of NIL fund for this. Now, granted, this is coming with revenue sharing, so he might be able to get close, and they might give him a nice rev share deal. But he was going to have more NIL plus rev share on top of it at Tennessee because he'd already agreed to the NIL contract. So he was going to get rev share no matter what. So he was going to be making more money in Tennessee no matter what. And so it's just such a strange decision to me to not to try to get more money, but to try to get more money from a place you're already getting a lot of money from. You've only had one full year as a starter, and you're draft eligible in a year. Buddy, just write it out. Be on TV, be on national TV every single week, which UCLA is going to have more games than they won't that are, digital only right now.
It reeks of a short-sighted decision.
Yeah,
absolutely. That's what it reeks of. It reeks of a short-sighted decision. And, obviously I'm not in the circle, in Nico's circle. So I don't want to talk too much about what's going on in that circle, but from the outside looking in, and I can only go off of what I know and what I see in the news, is it doesn't really appear that there's a good circle in his ear about this very situation that he's put himself in. And it's a shame because we all saw what kind of a player he was in Tennessee, and we all think that he's only going to get better. But like you just said, going into your draft eligible year, I'm not sure why this move makes sense for you both professionally and to some degree financially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So, Pierre, NFL draft is this week in Green Bay.
One of my favorite times of year. This. I live for this.
I love it too. I love it. What do you think the Vikings have to get done in the first 2 days of the draft?
Well, first and foremost, I think everybody would like to see from the Vikings is them trade out, because they actually are the team with the fewest amount of picks in this year's draft. They only have 4 total picks. One of them came by way of compensatory. So even before that, they only had 3, but now they've got a total of 4. They sit at number 24 overall in the first round. You have, if I'm Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, I'm doing anything I possibly can to try to trade down and acquire more capital. And if he has to trade out of the first round entirely, I would be perfectly okay with that, because reading the consensus on a lot of the guys in this draft, particularly the first round, from pick number 10 to pick number 32, it doesn't sound like there's a lot of differentiating factors. It's just about who you like, who might fit your scheme better, who maybe you like a little bit more than others watching tape. But the differences sound razor thin from about 10 to 32. So I don't think the Vikings necessarily need to stay in the first round. I would be absolutely ecstatic for them if they traded out of the first round and acquired more draft capital. However, if they stay at 24, I have been banging the table for over a month now for Nick Emanwari to be the newest member of the Minnesota Vikings. I think he would be an asset that Brian Flores could absolutely maximize in his defense. You lose Cam Bynum to Indianapolis. Harrison Smith is quite long in the tooth, albeit he's still playing great football, but he's not going to be playing great football forever. So you have to find a solution there at the safety position. That would be my first observation for the Vikings.
Well, that's a good spot to pick a safety where they are. So I wouldn't look if Nicky Winmori goes first, I also wouldn't sneeze at Malachi Starks. I think he's a fantastic player, but that's a good spot for them. To do that. I would like, what are they doing at running back right now? Aaron Jones is back, right? And
Aaron Jones is back, and they traded for Trey Mason actually from the Niners. They traded for him, so he's going to come in and be the RB2, but I think he's going to have a role. I mean, if you watched his game film from when Christian McCaffrey was down, I believe it was 3 straight weeks of over 100 yards on the ground, if memory serves me right. But he had a very productive 5 or 6 weeks of football filling in for Christian McCaffrey, really showing that he can be, I don't know about, your RB1, but a guy who's certainly capable of being productive in this league, whether he's your first running back or your second running back. So that's the plan right now with Aaron Jones, I believe. And Aaron Jones signed a 2-year deal. So Aaron Jones and Trey Mason, those are your 1 and 2 right now. Ty Chandler is still on this roster. So running back, I wouldn't put it past him to add a running back maybe in the later rounds. It's obviously a deep running back class, but that wouldn't exactly be my top priority for this team.
I don't think, it does. I'm just curious about that because it is a deep running back draft. And so they could, in the 4th round, get a guy like Devin Neal out of Kansas, who I really like, that I think would fit. He reminds me a lot of Aaron Jones in his game. Really well. I'm a little like, I find myself, the Big 12 has all these great running backs, and we talked to almost all of them, right, Garrett?
I think we haven't got Scatterboo. That's about it.
Scatterboo, and he wasn't there.
Yeah, because he wasn't there.
And he wasn't there. So no offense to all the rest of them, but Scatterboo is the one I wanted the most. And look, let's face it, I'm kind of a scattabitch. I'm a fan. Or maybe I just should be like, instead of that, I should be like the Scataboos, hey boo, because I do have a huge football crush on that guy. But we talked to all of them when we at Big 12 Pro Day, and this is a really good running back league. So I find myself a little biased towards it, especially if you're in those middle rounds and you're looking for one. Like, there are guys that'll fit, Taj Brooks and Devin Neal and Corey Kiner and some really, really interesting players there. I love the draft, but I anxiously await it on Thursday night, but I am terrified the Cowboys are going to do something that just goes, okay. They're usually good in the first round. The second round has been a black hole for them recently. And then the third round, they're good at. So the first part of day 2, I know they're going to do something really dumb historically. The second part of day 2, they're going to get a guy like Cooper Beebe, who I'm like, oh, I love this dude. And you made up for that stupid thing in the second round. Like, you didn't lead Luke Schoonmaker. What are you talking about, drafting the tight end in the second round? Like, are you crazy? You got to, and you not notice your running backs are falling apart 2 years ago? 2 years ago?
Yeah.
But no. They don't bring me in to help with these things.
No, of course not. Why would they?
Nor will they, I know this, Pierre. The Dolphins and Cowboys will never call us up and be like, listen, you've got 1 year to prove us wrong. They'll never do it.
No,
they'll never do it.
No, because they're scared. Because they know we would. Because they know I would take care. We would take care of those franchises in one felt swoop. We wouldn't need a year. Give me 1 month, and I'll have that ship in the right direction.
Yeah. And here's my thing. All right, do I get an everybody sit down and shut up clause? Everybody sit down and shut up. I've got 1 year before you guys fire me or build a statue. Those are the thing. I would love that. That's a move. We should make that movie.
Absolutely. I just watched Draft Day last week for the 40th time, and I'm thinking to myself, what would that? Yeah, that's a good. Now we have another concept here too. What would happen if we just took over ownership? We've seen the movies where Little Big League, where he took over as the manager of the Twins. We've seen Rookie of the Year. We've seen kids in these roles, and they seem to excel rather well in these roles, according to cinema. So why wouldn't an adult man of our age thrive in the role of taking over, maybe not the ownership role, but at bare minimum, CEO, president of football operations type role?
So have you ever seen the very underrated Richard Pryor movie, Brewster's Millions?
I have not, actually.
Okay. I'll next time you've got some free time and there's nothing else going on. It's a very funny movie. The premise of the movie is that Richard Pryor he's like a minor league, like independent league baseball player. His catcher is played by John Candy, and he finds out that he has his grandfather, who's played by Hume Cronin, has passed away, and they bring him into this bank, and he says his whole goal is to where he has 30 days to spend $30 million, and then he'll inherit $300 million, because he wants him to hate spending money and hate all of it. So the whole movie is him over this month trying, he can't, and at the end of it, he can't have $1. He has to spend all of it. He can't have $1 to his name. He can't own anything. So he has to rent all of it. Okay. He has to rent all of it. He has to so he can't buy a house. He can't buy furniture. He can't, he can give so much to charity and he can give so much to his friends, but he cannot everything he has to do is, so people the movie's hilarious. He comes in, people just come in with these ridiculous investment opportunities. And he's like, go, do it here, and then it's very funny. And
I have to put that on the list.
Yeah. So here's the premise. We take Draft Day and Brewster's Millions and we shove them together. Yeah. And here's what we have. We have an eccentric, crazy owner with no heirs, which exists in real life in the NFL. It's Mark Davis. Mark Davis has no heirs. Yeah. There's no there is a good chance that a stripper is going to inherit the Raiders. That's a really good chance. Or it's going to be one of those out of the woodwork, turns out.
Long law DNA test 23andMe have provided that. Oh my God, Mark Davis.
That's going to happen. Or what ultimately is going to happen is that, when he gets sick, they're going to move it into a receivership or, whatever.
Sure.
But it's not going to happen. But he doesn't have any heirs. He doesn't. And at this point in his life, I don't think he's going to have any. As a matter of fact, I think it's part of the thing is when he has these women in his life, it's contingent on, we're not having any kids. You're in this for one thing, and I get it because of my haircut. It's fine. We're using each other. But let's just say that eccentric owner dies and then gives it to the loudest podcasting enthusiast fan.
Right.
Of that has a bunch of followers. It's
or I am ticket holder or something like that.
I am willing the team to this guy. Mm-hmm. And he that loves the team more than anyone. I hated him because he was always riding me for how it was. But I've come to realize as I die, the only person who can run this team is this guy. Yeah. I think, Andrew, clip this and save it. We are pitching this movie written by Paul and Pierre, or executive produced. We'll hire a screenwriter.
Definitely hire a screenwriter.
We're going to hire a screenwriter, but then you and I are going to be moguls, my friend.
Oh, absolutely.
And
these are how movie pitches go. A lot of times in these movie pitches, they'll take two movies and be like, we're going to think about this one, and we're going to sprinkle that. We're going to marry these two films or have some kind of narrow pathway to kind of allow you to see how these two concepts would work well together. They use examples from previous movies all the time.
Yeah.
All the time when they're pitching movies.
I think this would be a good vehicle for a Jack Black, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
This could be a Vince Vaughn thing.
Would the
possibly.
Vince Vaughn, I think, would be great for a movie like that. Would the owner could leave the team to that individual out of spite as well, thinking oh, you think it's really easy?
Oh, yeah.
Well, you think this is easy? Well, how about it? Unbeknownst to you, I'm leaving you the team. And as I'm dead and I'm looking at you from the heavens, I'm going to be laughing at your ass for screwing up the team because you think it's so easy.
Yeah. And then he can have all these people trying to make sure they wrestle a team away from him, like Mr. Deeds. It's maybe more of it's like a Mr. Deeds thing. Yeah. All these people trying to make sure that they get the team. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
The one condition that we have to make, though, is the movie will not be made about the New York Jets. No, that will not. That will not be the team.
I think that it would be hilarious if it was made about the Cowboys.
It should be.
But I don't know if Jerry would agree to that at all.
Well, I mean, I'm sure we could. Oh, there goes my microphone. I loosened that up for some reason. I don't know why. I'm sure Jerry probably wouldn't love it, but
but all press is good press.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I know we could definitely come back to this at some point. While we have two, I knew we were talking about the draft. I just wanted to get your opinion on one player and one player only, because over the last week or so, I've been doing that internet meme where they say nobody, and then here comes you, and in this case, I'm the you in this meme, and I think to myself, I've been thinking a lot about Quinn Ewers lately, and why nobody seems to want to discuss where Quinn Ewers should go, and is he being overlooked, and where. And the funny thing is I don't know if Quinn Ewers is going to be an NFL caliber starting quarterback. I have my reservations about it, but at the same time, I hear people talk about it as if, no, that definitely couldn't happen. He's no better than a 5th round pick, maybe a 4th rounder. And I'm thinking to myself, going into the season, Quinn Ewers was pretty heavily touted, and he fought through injury. And I'm not really sure why he's not being discussed as potentially the 3rd quarterback in this draft.
I'll tell you why. It's because of the injuries. It's because of that. He's never playing healthy.
Yeah, that's valid.
So I think that he's going to be a guy who's probably the 4th or 5th quarterback taken. He's got this laser rocket arm. He has a ton of wins, but Garrett and I talk about this all the time. I don't think we've ever seen Quinn Ewers play a season where he's not hurting.
He literally has not been healthy since his sophomore year at South Lake Carroll.
Yeah, absolutely. Very fair. And I know that's going to be the chatter primarily when you're talking about him. But, in this quarterback class, to be honest with you, the entire quarterback class from top to bottom, and I'm including Cam and Shedeur in this, I'm not fully sold on any of them. On it, Cam, I think probably has the highest ceiling, but I'm not fully convinced that any quarterback in this year's class is going to emerge as a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback. I think with the right coaching, Shedeur is interesting, but I'm not sold on any of these guys. And when I say I'm not sold on it, I'm saying I'm not so sure I would use a 1st round draft pick on any of these guys.
No, I would use. I like Cam Ward. I'm relatively sold on Shedeur, and the reason being is Shadeur's never played with a good offensive line. He had a freshman All-American at center who's gone, and then he has Jordan Seaton, who's actually very much doubled down and is staying. So yeah, I'm big on Shedeur. Okay, so next week will be the last one that we do for a little bit, me and you, Pierre. And I'm gonna, which means you've got to get your Seinfeld reference in.
Yes, I do. Yes, I have not forgotten about that. By the way, that's still trying to work.
You're not Penske material.
No, I'm not.
You're not Penske material. You got to get that in before next week. And 2, we're going to talk Amazing Race on the last one.
Yeah.
And what Amanda and I do is we watch the current one, and we've gone back and watched old ones. We are now to the era pre-HD TV, which is a little difficult. Now,
but that's when the show I think was at
the thing is, they didn't have all the things. We just saw the first double U-turn, which took a victim of my least favorite player of all time, Chad, of Chad and Stephanie, who is a thunder douche, who went to the University of Florida and was douchey the whole time, babe, shut up, I got this. That guy can't stand that guy.
Yeah, right.
He's that dude, and his name is Chad, and so. Thrilling to watch him get plucked by the double U-turn. But I do want to talk about that kind of guy in the race and how they never win. And how I wonder when they watch back, are they oh.
You got the current race? You're talking about the current race.
There's a guy on the current race that's a little bit like that. He's a little more.
My fiance has yelled at the TV multiple times. Don't you worry.
Yeah, I'm sure she has. Yeah. Because he's nice. And then something will happen and then he's just awful. You're and this is the couple, they were separated for a little while and you're I get it.
Yeah.
I would
totally understand.
I got it. No.
The wife is delightful. She's great. The guy, as Frank Costanza once said, this is not my kind of guy. Nah.
All right, Pierre, we'll see you next week. This is the triple option we're running over. See you later.